people feel sympathetic towards Brian Gorel. Do you understand this?
I think I do. I mean, well, first of all, he says he has HIV. I have not confirmed that, but that alone, people would kind of sympathize. People sympathize with people who allegedly have been scammed, which he says he has been. And he's an exceptional writer. He states he knows these people involved, the big names, and then he backs it up sometimes with even photos and specific stories. So when you mix all of that together, you're going to get a group of people that are really going to believe him. And whether it's true or not, he's put it in a way that's quite entertaining for people to view 2 million times.
And on your show, does he expound more about these stories? What do you talk about?
Yes, he does. Sometimes I'll ask him to be specific, and he'll talk about things like drug use. Of course, he goes on in detail about Mr. Montano's taking of the $70,000 allegedly from him, and he just keeps on asking, I want it back. Why hasn't he answered the phone when I called? Why isn't he defending himself on television, which thankfully you are today? And he just kind of reiterates what's going on and gets a little bit more specific. And it's a great way for people to actually hear his voice instead of just reading it.
Okay, so maybe we can go on with a few of the main questions that probably is in everybody's mind. EJ.
Of course.
Okay,
of course.
so where were you all this time? Did you actually leave the country?
No, not at all. In fact, I have my passport here. My passport records will show I have not left the country since this blog came out. I have not been in hiding.
Okay, so but you were indoors, I suppose. But you did say that you would go out and people would react to you. Could you explain a little more about those experiences?
Well, this blog is created, as DJ Mo Twister has mentioned, it's created a fascination. It's become very sensationalized. So, pictures of me, pictures of my family and my friends have appeared, and people automatically, I've become infamous all of a sudden. So people would just come up to me and say, "Hey, pay up," or they'd anonymously slip papers and say, "Pay up."
You're aware that there are T-shirts, Team Brian.
I have heard.
DJ Pay Up or things like that.
I have heard.
It must be it must be very difficult. How has it affected you?
It's affected me a lot, of course. It's affected me in many ways. I feel violated.
Then may I ask, then why not defend yourself passionately, as he passionately accuses you?
That's why. This is the purpose why I'm coming out.
But why
now.
take a month? If he's one of the questions he's been asking me is why just now, when I've been calling you and when I've been asking you to explain where the money is, and one thing that Brian does say very clearly is he has the paperwork to back up all his claims. He says anything that he said on the website he can prove without a doubt. So he has no reason to be afraid of looking like a liar. That's what he has said.
Well, to answer your question, when this blog first came out, of course I immediately seek the assistance of my lawyer and my family, how to go about this. And of course, they mentioned the best way to go about this is this requires a legal process. You have to deal with this very carefully and properly. And we thought that reacting right away would jump the gun, would just add fuel to the fire. So we carefully planned our steps. We took the legal process, and now that the names of my family, or aside from my name, of course, and the names of my friends has been dragged into the media, it's been mentioned in different media forums. It's my moral obligation to come out to defend myself, my family, and my friends, and the honor of the Filipino people who he has insulted here in his blog. He insults our justice system. If I can quote from an entry in his blog, if you'll allow me, it says, "No one pays attention to the Philippines. All of you are corrupt. I will unveil to the world the hypocrisy of your corrupt country." And again, no one pays attention to the Philippines at the moment.
Okay. All right, going back to you and him, because this really started between, you and him, and many people's names have already been dragged. So let's go to the main point. Do you actually owe him $70,000 US?
Absolutely not. First and foremost, it's 70,000 Australian dollars.
And this amount represents what? Did this amount actually change hands between the two of you?
Okay, well, this requires a story from the very beginning, of how we met. We met in February of last year. He fell in love with this country. It was his first time here, and I think we as Filipinos, as being very hospitable, he approached me and asked for my tips. You know, okay, hey, what's a nice place to go to? And, you know, we became friends. We started our friendship there. And eventually, you know, we corresponded when he went back to Australia, and he expressed a desire to come here to the Philippines, and he asked for my help. So, you know, I was the only one he trusted here in the Philippines. So he sent, you know, he had to send money here to the Philippines to fund his living here in the Philippines. And, you know, since he is a foreigner here in the country and I'm a local citizen, you know, it was going to be easier. And so I said, okay, that's fine with me. Okay? I mean, he lived like a king here in the Philippines. He was jobless for the 7 months that he lived in this country. He had no income. I mean, we all know that Boracay is not the cheapest of places, and it is in fact a very expensive place to stay. I found him a house for him to stay in the island.
So the whole restaurant, opening a restaurant, all of that is completely false?
I have no business plans with him whatsoever.
Okay, in the blog, it does. It seems to be very clear to everyone who's read the blog and participated in it that you so allegedly begged him for that amount, so that you could put up an investment venture, which is the restaurant, and that apparently this amount was misrepresented. There was no, it was mishandled, and there was no real intention to make it into a business, and that when he wanted to get the $70,000 back, you were unreachable. So this $70,000, this amount of $70,000, you mean it doesn't exist? I mean, you never even really asked for the money. He never gave you the amount?
Not at all. Not at all.
But when he claims that he has Western Union slips, Western Union is the money transferring business now, that from him to your family members, like I believe your sister, I think was the one he said. Was that part just to fund his lifestyle, and you were using your sister's name as a receiving person?
Well, my sister only received one of the transmissions, and that was because I was out of the country and certain bills needed to be paid in his behalf, you know. So my sister acted in my behalf. But of course, all of that went to him.
And then, but why not? I think his number one question was, because I spoke with him about 2 hours ago.
Yes.
The first question off his mind is, how come you did not answer his phone calls? He was calling you repeatedly before the blog came out, before it got really large and really huge. He was trying to call you over and over.
You know what? His communications to us from the very beginning were very violent. You know, I have a case against him that is presently in court, you know, on vexation, because he has sent us so many messages. I mean, he's sent my lawyers messages. I think he's posted that on his website. We've tried to communicate with him properly, and he would always respond in a very violent manner. You know, so what's the point of entertaining any more of his communications?
So you have no intention of communicating with him in any other way, but the be-all and end-all will be on the show. I mean, this time would be the last time.
I would like to communicate with him in a proper forum, and that is the court.
So after this would be the court?
Yes.
Okay, just to get this out of the way, because we really want to talk about blogging and how this has affected lives and what you think about it, Mo. You're much younger, and this is your generation.
Not much younger.
And, well, not much younger. Okay, I agree. But this is really the way things move, the way information moves around now, and I'd like to know what you think about that. But just to get it out of the way, he wants me to ask you, do you deny the cocaine addiction, which he has posted on the blog?
I am not a cocaine addict.
Okay, so that is an outright denial.
Of course.
You are aware that people can react to the blog.
Of course.
And that people would probably, you know, because some people have entered a lot of stuff. Of course, there's no way to find out where this information is coming from.
Of course.
But you're willing to stand by that you are not a cocaine addict.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about the many accusations leveled by Mr. Gorel and many others in the comment section? Have you read all of the comments?
No. No, I've read some of them, and I've heard from my family about them.
So again, about the Western Union receipts, so you are ready to face that in court, that if he comes out with all those receipts, you will be able to refute it?
Absolutely.
Okay.